Welcome to the Know. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Adam.
Look, if Valve isn't gonna make Half-Life 3, it's gonna make itself. Or at least some fans are gonna make it, because, well, they've decided, why wait? They'll do it themselves.
Yeah, a group of dedicated developers have decided that fans deserve some closure to one of the most famous unfinished franchises of all time, and they're gonna make their own ending to the game with the help of a former Valve writer.
But will Valve shut the project down? That is a thing that can happen. Fan games have a very spotty history when it comes to publishers. Some gaming companies are cool with them, some really are not. Look at you, Nintendo.
But Valve's been alright.
Valve's been one of the better ones.
Yeah. Let's look into the details of this project first, because this looks like it's pretty extensive, and they've already been at work for months creating the assets for the game.
The effort is called Project Borealis. You may have heard of it here on the Know before. It's the work of a team of modders who are building the long-awaited third episode of Half-Life using the Unreal Engine.
They say they've already got more than 60 people on the team. Holy shit.
It's a lot, yeah.
They've got an official site, and they've recently released some test footage of their work. So this seems like a lot more than just a pie-in-the-sky idea.
It's a pie-on-the-ground idea, where things happen. They're also recruiting for various positions at the moment, like a 2D environmental artist, level designer, animator, gameplay systems programmer, and more. So if you are any of those things, hit them up.
Could be some work for you. The project website states, "We've been working very hard over the past few months to go headfirst into development and start to piece together a game everyone can enjoy. And we intend to bring some closure regarding the Half-Life series."
Pretty admirable stuff. I think we could all use some closure. The inspiration for the project started after a former Valve writer took it on himself to try and wrap up the series and provide just a hint of that closure, because people have been waiting so long.
Indeed. You might remember that last year, former Valve writer Mark Laidlaw tried to give Half-Life fans some closure by releasing a synopsis on what the story of Half-Life 2 Episode 3 would look like.
Yeah, so that was back in August. Laidlaw, he tweeted a link to his own website. That link contained a letter written by Gertie Fremont, and it appears to summarize the events in Episode 3, sort of.
The letter doesn't use the exact names of the people and places in Half-Life, possibly because of copyright issues.
And also gender swaps everyone.
Right, but it doesn't take much imagination to figure out who Laidlaw is talking about. For instance, Gertrude Fremont is Gordon Freeman.
What? We cracked the code!
I know. And Ellie Vaunt is Eli Vance. And Alex Vaunt equals Alex Vance.
Ooh. The letter describes Gordon and Alex traveling to Antarctica, but they're shot down and find that the Borealis, the research ship at the end of Episode 2, is inside a huge combine base, and the story progresses from there.
While Laidlaw didn't come straight out and say that the post was the plot to Episode 3, it definitely seems like an attempt to finally give Half-Life fans some closure.
And that framework is what the team is basing the game around, so it might, even if it weren't, now be that game.
Their idea is to bring Laidlaw's synopsis to life. They wrote on their site, "Since there was no game to accompany this story, fans were a mad panic of hysteria where cars were wrecked and buildings set on fire. From the ashes rose Project Borealis, a small team dedicated to bringing Episode 3 to keyboards and mice everywhere."
They added that Project Borealis is being created on Unreal Engine 4 to give it the updated look that Half-Life has deserved after all these years. A dedicated team to bring you all brand new assets and updated looks, since the fan base deserves no less than perfection.
They also said that they've finished the first draft of the script, saying that they've fleshed out the details and gameplay elements into a full and engaging script.
Well, they've also been providing regular updates since November, showing off new character models, concept art, even music they're developing.
So this is definitely an ambitious effort to wrap up one of the biggest unfinished stories in gaming.
And it's been a very long time coming, too. The first Half-Life released in 1998, 2004, Valve released the sequel, Half-Life 2, then that was followed by Half-Life 2 Episode 1 in 2006, and then Half-Life 2 Episode 2 a year later.
I don't remember the story at all, so at this point it could be a brand new story.
Well, you know what? They can stand a replay.
I know Gordon Fremont, or whatever his name was, he's a character. But then Episode 3 was delayed indefinitely, leaving fans hanging after the cliffhanger ending of Episode 2. And Valve and Gabe Newell haven't talked about Episode 3 for years, which has led to tons of wild theories, fan fictions, and even a meme. Half-Life 3 confirmed. For whatever reason, Valve dropped the Half-Life franchise even if fans didn't.
Alright, so next big question. Fan project, really cool, is illegal, could Valve shut it down? Because that's a major concern for anyone following a fan project.
Totally, and there's not an easy answer to that, because while lots of companies are very aggressive in shutting down fan games, other companies don't seem to care as much.
Yeah, Capcom executives said in the past that while they legally can't sanction fan games, they won't go after them either. More recently, Capcom took the fan-made Street Fighter Cross Mega Man and funded it, making it an officially licensed freeware Mega Man game.
The Sonic the Hedgehog franchise also had a long history of fan games, and the development team behind the very well-received Sonic Mania was even made up of the fan community.
And then Bethesda has given its approval in the past to a fan remastering of Morrowind. Konami allowed a fan game called Castlevania The Lacard Chronicles 2 to be released, but only on the condition that it remained a non-profit.
Yeah, right. However, on the other side of things, Nintendo has been super aggressive at shutting down fan games that use any of its IP.
Sometimes hundreds at a time.
Yes, there's also a long history of fans making their own Pokemon games, some of which have been really impressive.
Yeah, Rockstar also don't play well with fan games. They issued a cease and desist over a fan project to take the map from Red Dead Redemption and then port that into Grand Theft Auto 5.
That would have been so cool.
Yeah, it would have been really cool. And, you know, we did put Bethesda in the good category. They've also been in the not great with fan game category as well. There have been a lot of attempts to bring, say, Morrowind into Skyrim, and those haven't gone as well. Basically, it's an IP thing, and so it can be really difficult for a lot of companies to work around.
So it's safe to say that these games exist in a gray area where it's basically up to the whim of the IP holder whether or not to shut them down.
And for those who don't hear IP a lot, it's intellectual property. It's just what that means.
Or IP address.
Or IP address, but
Intellectual
in this
property
case,
address.
yes.
Internet protocol.
Anyway, moving along, trademark attorney Mona Ibrahim wrote about the issue of fan games. She gave a few suggestions for fan devs to stay on the right side of the law, which I think the Project Borealis team could take heed of.
For one, she suggested to make it a legal clone by sticking with game elements and mechanics that aren't copyrighted or patented. She wrote, if you're unsure whether your particular idea falls into that category, contact an attorney.
And then, of course, the other option is to ask permission of the IP holder. Now, if they say yes, great. If not, well, Ibrahim wrote that you've probably chosen the wrong IP to clone.
As for its part, Valve has shown a willingness in the past to let its stuff be used.
Yeah, remember Black Mesa? That was a third-party fan remake of the original Half-Life. It got Valve's blessing, released on Steam Early Access in 2015. So they have been really good with fan games in the past. Doesn't mean they always will be, but they have been.
Yeah, it's a pretty good sign that maybe Valve will let this one go. On the other hand, Black Mesa was a remake, and this is an all-new game using Valve's IP, so maybe they'll draw a distinction there.
It's true. Well, if they ever had any intention of actually doing Half-Life 3, it would be in their best interest to shut this one down.
Maybe this is a ploy to see if they're actually going to make Half-Life 3. If they don't shut this down, we're never getting Half-Life 3.
Oh man, that's a hard way to find out.
Yes.
As for Project Borealis, it definitely seems like they're using the original characters from Half-Life. They released images of Alex Vance in winter gear. They said that Gordon now has access to several of his weapons. They've got near-finished animations in-game, so a lot of progress here.
Yeah, which is interesting because in Laid Lost Synopsis, he used different names for all the characters, although it was pretty easy to tell who he was talking about.
No, it wasn't. That was cryptic.
Not so in this game. They're going all out.
Yeah, so time will tell how this shakes out, whether this fan game lasts. It's an ambitious undertaking for sure. Hopefully, Valve will decide to let it live, or maybe they won't. It'll fall into either like pretty much everything else related to Half-Life 3 because it's cursed.
What do you guys think of this fan project to wrap up Half-Life? Let us know in the comments.
And for all your Half-Life news, including whether this project survives, because I think we'll all be really sad if it doesn't. It will definitely be something to talk about. Make sure you like this video, and if you're new here, subscribe to the Know. Do it themselves.
Yes, a group of dedicated developers have saying that they've fleshed out the details and gameplay elements into an engaging script. And full engaging. Great. As for its part, Valve has shown a willingness in the past to